Well, hello there, and welcome to another special edition of Extra Credit. Derek Evans, Mr. Credit here, your host. I have a very special guest with me today who's actually a candidate for Mortgage Loan Officer of the Year on the MrCredit.org poll. Julia Cruz is here from Guild Mortgage. How you doing, Julia?
Good. How are you?
Hey, it's great to have you. Today we're talking about the Mortgage Credit Certificate Program. Now, this is something that I had never heard of until I spoke with you about it. It's something you're very passionate about. Tell us what the Mortgage Credit Certificate Program is.
Well, what the Mortgage Credit Certificate Program is it gives it's a first-time buyer tax credit. It gives the buyer a dollar, 20% of their interest in a dollar for dollar tax credit.
So when you say first-time buyer,
yeah.
what exactly does that mean? Because I know sometimes the definition of a first-time buyer isn't necessarily someone who's buying a home for the very first time.
Yeah, so the definition for a first-time buyer is you can't have owned a property in the last 3 years. So we'll collect the last 3 years of your federal tax returns to validate there's no mortgage interest on those returns. So to qualify for the MCC program, there's three main requirements. One is being a first-time home buyer by that definition. And then two is being underneath the income limits, and three is underneath the purchase price limit. So it's a pretty straightforward in the qualifications.
So tell us about the income qualification aspect. So you have to be under a certain income level. What do those levels look like?
So for San Diego County, household of 1 to 2 is around 94,000 or less. And then a household of 3 plus is 110,000 or less. They actually just increased the income limits a few months ago. So it's really good news. It gives more buyers the opportunity. So you count, kids, grandparents, anyone in the household.
Okay, who lives there permanently? That's cool.
Correct.
Now, what about the third level, the purchase price restrictions? I'm assuming that's on to the downside. Is that correct?
Yeah, you have to be under the purchase price limits, which they're around like 530,000, somewhere in there. So you probably won't be at fear of breaching it. It's really more the income limits and the first-time buyer requirements.
Okay, so it's pretty simple to qualify for it. Now, as far as meeting the criteria, now what is the actual process? So let's say I qualify as a first-time buyer. I make less than the 94,000 or whatever the number is based on how many people are in my household. I want to buy a house that's under 530,000. So let's say all that stuff makes sense for me. Then what do I actually have to do in order to get this tax credit?
Okay, so first off, the mortgage credit certificate is kind of attached to the first mortgage or done alongside. So you'd have to work with the loan officer that is knowledgeable enough to go through there's other small qualifications. So when you apply for your first mortgage, at the same time, you're going to be applying for the mortgage credit certificate. And during that process, we can actually use the MCC to help the buyer qualify for a higher loan amount, which is also a really neat thing that people don't even realize is there. So the loan officer will be in charge of taking care of all the paperwork that's necessary. There'll be some final paperwork to sign at the end of the transaction. And then once you close, you have that and you'll get something issued every year to show how much your MCC is to apply it to your taxes.
Okay, so it sounds to me like it's incredibly simple.
It is. It is. The work's really done by the mortgage company and the loan officer. If you are buying a home, you're a first-time home buyer, and you're underneath the income and purchase price limits, hands down, you have to do this program. I mean, because the minute you close, you're no longer a first-time home buyer. I've had so many people say, "Oh, can I get that? Can I get that?" But they've already closed on the purchase. And the buyer gets that 20% dollar for dollar tax credit for the whole time they live in the home. So it could be the whole 30 years. So it's super powerful. It's something it's been around since 1984. And so many people don't even know it's there. It exists. I've saved so many transactions just because we added in that MCC.
That is unbelievable. You get it for the entire life of the loan. I mean, how much money are we talking about saving here? I mean, is this thousands, tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands of dollars for someone?
Yeah, so I would say if someone bought like a $350,000 home, on average, it would maybe be like $3,000 a year. Obviously, your interest that you pay every year does go down slightly over the 30 years, so it'll go down slightly every year. But if you can save, $3,000 a year on federal taxes plus the remaining 80% of your interest is still a deduction. So there's that savings as well that all home buyers get. It's just such a big savings. It's so yeah, it's very powerful, and it goes on and on every single year.
So we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars here for homeowners to be able to save without having to really do a lot of work. Just if you fit the criteria, then you save the money. That is absolutely great stuff from Julia Cruz over at Guild Mortgage. Now, Julia, you've been recommended as the potential candidate for Mortgage Loan Officer of the Year 2015, the MrCredit.org poll. You got to feel pretty honored to be nominated for that, as that's a peer nomination.
Yes, no, I was very honored, and I've been reaching out to clients and friends. I'm just so honored by all the support everybody's giving me.
So cool and great to hear. And you're the only person I've really seen who's talking about this program. My estimation when something like that happens is that it's really complicated and no one wants to fuss with it. And, you know, it's just everyone expects to be a bunch of brain damage and they just don't want to do it. After talking with you, it seems that that's quite not the case. And in fact, it seems to be almost common sensory. If you're a first-time buyer, if you qualify as a first-time buyer, then this is something you should be looking at. Yeah,
it's, like I said, hands down the best first-time buyer program out there. And if you qualify, you have to do it.
Fantastic stuff, Julia. Really appreciate you spending the time today to educate us on this.
All right. Thank you so much.
That's Julia Cruz from Guild Mortgage talking about the Mortgage Credit Certificate Program. Doing what we do, making you smarter than everyone else. We'll see you again soon.